Good evening, dandies. Welcome to Undetermined, the podcast.
How many you got?
Two. 11-year-old young lady and a 7-year-old young man.
Excellent.
Yeah. What about you guys?
We've got a pair close to that age. I've got an 11-year-old boy. And then John's got
I've got a 12-year-old, and then I've got a 20, almost a 22-year-old. Yeah.
Is it 22, 23?
There's a 23?
Almost 23, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's amazing how young, well, I mean, I'm approaching this for the first time, but it's amazing how early the teenage sass kicks in.
Oh,
you know?
man. Yes.
11 teen, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen a big increase in that lately in the 12.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
12-year-old range.
I think maybe being stuck at home and not seeing any friends probably doesn't help.
Yeah.
Because, boy, I'm getting, woo.
The contrary attitude and the snark.
Right. I know with the eye rolls. Well, if you did, then how come I'm telling you for the third or fourth time?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been on this rock a few more times than you've been around the block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, as my grandfather used to say, youth is wasted on the young.
It is.
Yes, it's really true.
Entirely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Yep. So, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you. Everybody joining us. This is Dave Geraghty from many incarnations that I'm fans of. Juniper, Bell X1, Join Me in the Pines, and then you've got like individual projects going. You're all over the place, man.
Tell me about it. I'm meeting myself coming back. Yeah.
So, Dave, we've been talking for a little while. I'm introducing you to Jon now. So, Jon, David.
Jon, how are you, sir?
Good. Yeah, I've been a big Bell X1 fan for a while. Wasn't really familiar with a lot of your work in Pines, but I've been enjoying everything I've been listening to. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, really great stuff.
Thank you so much.
Particularly liked your cover of you guys did the cover of a Jealous Guy.
Yes.
Yes, That's great. I didn't. Yeah. I hesitated to click on that one. That's one of my favorite John Lennon songs.
Oh man, I know.
I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can. But yeah, quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. Yeah,
yeah. There are some songs that kind of shouldn't be touched, you know, and yeah, I don't know. I had to go there with that one. I don't know. I grew up with. Well, obviously being a massive Beatles fan, but Lennon solo stuff, I love that album. It's such a shame that album, Imagine, there's so many great songs in it, but it's like the song Imagine just eclipses everything else about that album, which is such a shame.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, because I'm so like Crippled Inside, cracking tune. I mean, there's so many great songs, and the production on that album is just sublime, you know. So, but Jealous Guy is definitely a highlight, you know. But had to be done. Sorry,
no,
if I offend anybody.
I kind of feel like one of those things that Lennon would be a personality that'd be like, yeah, see what you can do with it too.
Yeah.
That's my impression anyway. Not that I knew him.
Yeah, I mean, even like I love like the fact that apparently I love these rock and roll stories. He turned up in the studio with Bowie, and Bowie had that, like, you know, for the song Fame, he had the lyrics and all the rest, but he just needed that lyrical stab. And then I think it was Lennon that said, "What about Fame?" And that's what Bowie went with, and that's what stuck. But he's in. I think you can hear him in backing vocals in that song as well, Lennon, which is pretty awesome.
I was not aware of that.
That is cool.
Yeah, and have you listened to, actually, just on the Lennon thing? Have you listened to the Esher tapes on Spotify?
I have not.
Well, it's on many platforms, but basically it was a young chap he's a violin player, and he plays in. He's one of the violin players in Dowry Strings who play with Bell X1 when we do our 3-piece acoustic thing. He's a really interesting dude, actually himself. He composes really beautiful ambient instrumental music. His name's Gareth Quinn Redmond, and it was himself that pointed me in the direction of the Esher tapes, which Esher House was basically where George Harrison lived, and he got all the Beatles congregated in his house with his 4-track tape machine, or maybe it was an 8-track, but let's say 4-track. It's more romantic. Sure. And they put down all these demos of the Beatles songs, and it was really interesting to hear how well formed McCartney's songs were. I mean, they were essentially like, different but as good versions as what ended up on the album. He had the music very much sorted, but what was the Lennon tune? I can't remember the Lennon tune, right? But the title of the song became basically the section that was actually missing from the demo. I mean, my point is, Lennon songs were so, probably even up until they hit record in Abbey Road or whatever posh studio they went to, he was still, I think, kind of letting the ideas kind of come together. He I don't know, he just felt like much more of a loose edge of the seat kind of a, whereas McCartney was like, no, I've got to have everything locked down and all the parts, and know exactly what's going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was just that the Esher tapes, apart from them being a real insight into how the songs came together, it was a real insight for me anyway, just hearing the early versions and hearing how undeveloped Lennon's were.
That's interesting.
But obviously they got there in the end, amazing tunes. And then how developed McCartney's were from a very early stage. I just thought it was quite telling what different writers they were, but yet they worked together.
Right. Maybe they help each other grow in some ways. I'm sure they did. Right? And I kind of wonder that. Gosh, I have two things I want to say at once right now. That reminds me of, we had Matt Chamberlain on.
Oh, yes.
Just recently, the drummer. And he talked about working with Bob Dylan and kind of mentioned, he's like, Bob, the songs that you hear, these iconic Bob Dylan songs that you hear, he's basically said that's the song that because that's the day they were recorded.
Yeah.
If it had been another day, it would have been a different sound.
Completely different.
And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how that, kind of transposes itself live as well when you see acts do that. And it's like, you get a different version for every show that you go to.
Yes.
I've always loved that about certain live performers. They just don't try to do the studio version every time, or like you say, the only reason there is a studio version is because that was the day they hit record on it. So
exactly, yeah. They say, like, I mean, you go into a studio and you take a photograph, and the next time you play that song is a completely different context.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, which is probably live or the next city you're playing in, whatever. But it definitely conjures a different version.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, seeing a lot of documentaries and everything on Lennon, and it just seems like a jam session, and then it's almost like, pointing to the booth and, all right, hit it, let's roll it.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for trying to cultivate that way of working as well. Like I teach in a couple of days a week. I teach in BIMM, BIMM. It's British and Irish Modern Music. It's a 3rd level music college, basically.
Right. With Johnny, we had him on.
With Johnny Boyle, of course.
I was going to ask about your writing process.
Yeah.
You've got separate collaborative projects that you have, and some that you do more your own thing. And how do others influence you? How do you feel like you influence them? I can hear some things that come off from Juniper or Bell X1 or your stuff that maybe some of that was stuff that you picked up working with other people like Damien or Paul.
Yeah. It is a very different beast, writing for my own stuff. I mean, I suppose it's essentially when I write for either, my own albums, which I haven't put out an album under my own name since 2009, released under Join Me in the Pines now.
Yeah.
So the first album was 2007, and I suppose, I think it was around the time I was turning 30, and I was like, okay, I'm part of Bell X1. I've been part of Juniper, but I need to kind of stick the flag in the ground. And I think it was maybe the turning 30 landmark that I just kind of went, I need to do something. I don't know. 30 is a bit of a, what are you doing? What have you done? What are you going to do?
Sure.
So I got stuck into writing my own album. Although the first album, like a lot of first albums, you've got basically 20 years of music to draw from. Do you know what I mean? Because you've been writing and writing and writing up until the point when you decide to actually go, right, I'm going to put an album together. Then by the time the second album came around, there was still a body of work to draw from. But there were some new ideas, obviously. But it was around the time I was becoming a father for the first time. And I remember I kind of rushed that one out, to be honest with you. I'm not as proud of that album as I would like to be. That's just one of those things. It happens to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's only something you realize retrospectively. It kind of has to be out there in the public domain before you realize, shit, I should have sat on that one a bit longer.
Right.
Just gotten it right.
Overwhelmed by everything else that was going on at the time, and
yeah, I think so. And I was like, oh shit, I'm going to be a dad. And then also, time was passing, and I felt like I needed to kind of do something after the kind of reasonably good critical acclaim that the first album had gotten, so.
Right. It did really well.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like a lifetime ago. But so writing, I suppose, I always found, I guess I never really found a rhythm, or I found a discipline, or found a way for me to approach writing that felt safe and secure. Not that writing any creative process is, but just, you kind of, I think you learn a lot about yourself basically when you're repeatedly coming to the creative process.
Right.
And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Rubber Bandits here in Ireland.
No. Something I need to check out, apparently.
The Rubber Bandits as a duo, they're one thing, but one of the guys, Blind Boy Boat Club is his name. He wears a plastic bag in his head, the usual. Right. Anyway, check him out. But he has a podcast, and he talks a lot about creativity, and his big thing is, and I found it very helpful, just how he is so open about creativity, about music, and he writes books as well, short stories. But his whole thing is it's all about you have to make peace with failure. You have to be okay with that, because for years and years, what I was doing was I was shying away. I was scared of failure, basically.
Right.
That feeling of like, I mean, you might write 10 songs, and out of those 10 songs, 1 or 2 are gems. But those other 8 or 9 times, if you don't have the right mindset, you're left feeling just discouraged and dispirited, and you're just feeling like, I can't do this. See, I knew I was a fake. Right. I knew I couldn't do this. Do you know that?
Yeah. And the reality might be a good product too. It just might be I'm not in the right place to see how it's a good thing. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's so many things, but you basically have to be compassionate with yourself, and you have to, not only that, but you have to be completely comfortable with failure, as I say, and realize that, okay, the whole thing might not be great, but there are elements of this which are really great. And if I'm really serious about what I do and I want to move forward and build on this, I can find a way of archiving these ideas and developing for myself a treasure trove of ideas that I know how to kind of delve into, and I know how to, navigate that archive, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Even if you're a really visual person, well, then just color code the files on your computer. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of thing into styles, or it could be BPMs or whatever. But through teaching in BIM, I've really learned as well, like that. I did a postgrad in learning and teaching, and through that, I kind of really, I guess I realized that any creative process can be constructive. You don't just keep working until you hit a brick wall and then you down tools and go, oh God, I nearly got to the finish line there. You kind of go, okay, you stop and go, I'm going to walk away from this
Mm-hmm.
And while I still feel good about it, and then I'm going to come back to it and think of it constructively. Where am I going with this? What does it need? Where's it going? Instead of being defeatist and
Right.
Sure.
like
Yeah.
the guy in was it the Muppet Show? He was the guy sitting at the piano, always trying to write songs. It was just this kind of bit character, and he'd be a dude sitting at a piano, and he'd be, it was obviously a kid show, but he'd be sitting there kind of going, "The cat sat on the," and he'd be really struggling with obviously the kids at home are shouting, "Matt, Matt!" But he was this songwriter. He was like so impassioned and into his art, and he had to get the lyrics right. Really serious looking, puppet.
That's awesome.
But he used to get really, really angry at himself and really frustrated, and he'd start hammering his head on the keys of the piano.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that now. Yeah.
He used to scare the shit out of me, and I don't know if it was just like prophecy of
foreshadowing.
Yeah. It was the foreshadowing of what my life is going to be as a songwriter. You know what I mean? So I approach writing and creativity very, very differently now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of now and talking about what's going on now, I think a lot of people, that we talk about that and learning from failure and growing from failure and things like that. But there's also a difference between like failure or perceived failure and catastrophe or something like with what's going on now with shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that's affecting your writing as far as, a lot of people are finding they're having more time off, to write, but then you've got all these things hanging over your head. How has that been for you?
When lockdown initially happened, I just launched into loads of writing and creativity for about 7 weeks, but I wasn't the only one in the house who was stuck at home all the time. There was the two children, and
right.
I don't know, I think the shit just started to hit the fan around week 7.
Yeah.
And just my daughter's great. She'll go off and entertain herself for hours, but the little fella he just kind of needs to know that someone's fussing over him, or that he's being entertained or talked to, or he can talk to somebody. He's just that character.
Mm-hmm.
So that just became quite intense. So anytime I wanted to try and continue with creativity, the guilt pangs were ferocious. So yeah, all of a sudden then this like expansive, fertile, creative land that lay before me suddenly became crocodile infested, and just I couldn't continue basically. So we had to switch things up. So myself and my better half we started kind of splitting up the day into like 2-hour sections, so 2 hours on, 2 hours off, and she was and still is studying. And we both found it really that was more frustrating, because the thing with creativity and studying is it kind of takes you about an hour to get into the headspace.
Yeah.
And then you get about an hour's work done, and you're kind of like, you're motoring along, and you've found your groove, and then you have to down tools because it's your turn to man the ship or woman the ship. So that was our kind of our solution wasn't totally airtight. But yeah, I don't know. I think after that I found it hard actually to kind of settle back into a groove myself, just work wise, headspace wise.
Yeah.
And now, how many months are we now into this? I find myself clenching my jaw a lot recently.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of, I think everybody's in this state of stasis of not knowing. It's just the unknown. And I think even though you kind of go, I can say, no, I'm grand. I'm fine. Like I have my health. I have a beautiful home of children. I'm blessed. I'm really, really lucky. There's no problem. Everything's cool in my immediate little world,
Yeah. I feel like I go in waves.
Yeah.
Almost like, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Okay with it. And then, this week I'm just not okay with it.
Yeah.
And then I'll get through that week and okay, I've readjusted. I know it's going to take longer than I expected. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And there's going to be another week at some point, probably before long, where I'm like, fuck. I'm not okay with it this week.
Yeah, and even I find even in those times, there's like this low level hum of anxiety in the background.
Yeah,
just this, like as I was saying there, like the last couple of weeks now, I'm finding myself clenching my jaw, and the only reason I know I'm doing it is because I can feel I can feel the pressure in my gums in one point of my mouth, and I'm going, what? Okay, do I need to get gum shields or something to deal with the rough and tumble of COVID?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would be interesting though, to see if it
would be, yeah. But who'd know I'm wearing them, because we're all wearing masks, right?
Right, but just go see dentists, quiz dentists at the end of when this is all over, and see, are people's teeth in rougher shape just from clenching?
Yeah. Have they kind of smoothed them out? Is everyone going around like teeth like He-Man? Remember He-Man? Just this row of. He just had this one round tooth like a horseshoe. Top and bottom.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that's been bothering me lately too is just all the subconscious elements of how things that are set up in society are so set up for communal environments.
Yeah.
And based on a system that we've been running for so long. Like, for example, I teach, and it's like the whole idea from compulsory school and everything else was just everybody gathers in one building. Mm-hmm. Everybody gathers in one place. We all do that. We've always done this way. We've developed every single strategy, every single thing that we do based on the idea that, hey, we're all going to be able to get together in one place.
Social learning and all that, yeah.
Yeah, it upends everything you know and everything you've been taught. I mean, when you get a degree in education over 4 years, that's at the crux of everything you do, and then it just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yeah, I know. And the worrying thing is that the longer it goes on, the more acclimatized we will have become to this new way of looking at each other and being around each other.
Yeah, it's going to be strange. Yeah.
No, it's really weird. Just even watching TV, my wife pointed this out. Oh my God, they're not wearing masks on TV. And I get uncomfortable seeing people talking on TV that aren't wearing masks.
Yeah.
Right.
Who'd have thought that would be an issue?
My son, who's 7.
Yeah. People blowing out candles on a birthday cake, and you're like, ew.
Oh, yeah, that's disgusting.
Oh, they're going to eat COVID. Gross.
Yeah. I know. My son, my son who's 7, who's obviously not into we were watching the film recently, and he's like, "Is this a kissing film?" he saw this kind of carry on going on in what was supposed to be an action movie. He wasn't impressed,
right.
But he's like, "Distance, people, distance."
Exactly.
You'll get it, son. You'll get it.
Well, some of us get that here, and others don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it seems to be the world over.
Yeah, our state is not in great shape. It's one of the ones that it's going up exponentially, it seems like.
Really?
Yeah, 1,800 cases this week.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, just this week.
And it's just in our state. Yeah.
Yeah, just in our state.
Yeah.
Which is not really heavily populated. I mean, we've got a couple major cities, but, St. Louis and Kansas City.
Yeah.
But still, it's plenty.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's well, I mean, as long as it's going up, it's going to be cause for alarm. And obviously when it starts to speed up, it becomes even more going in the wrong direction, basically.
Right. And yeah, we've just got a lot of people that are deniers and just, no, it's not real. It's a conspiracy. God's going to protect me, all this stuff. And then they get sick.
Yeah.
It's like they can't understand. It's very tangible. You can go to the local hospital and see that it's overrun. You hear it in the news that the hospital's overrun. Well, it's still fake news. We're worrying way too much about it. Well, if we're worrying way too much about it, if you need to go to the ER for anything, just if you break your arm and it is full of people and they can't take you in, that's still a problem.
Yeah.
Even if people aren't going to die.
Yeah. I mean, and even if they can take you in, it's still a pretty shitty situation if you go there where there's a lot of people congregated,
right?
Where there's a lot of bacteria and germs. Unfortunately, they do live in hospital, and you're basically more likely to get COVID as a result because you're not at home safe.
Yep.
Yeah, scary stuff.
I just saw a report about in Georgia, a guy, he's a Democrat, but he's a black guy running, and he's claiming he's a big Trump supporter now. So he was campaigning for Trump in Georgia. Nobody's wearing masks, a big crowd. The guy crowd surfs at a Trump rally in Georgia. This was like within the last week.
Are you serious?
I will send you a link.
Yeah. What's the
I know.
What's the point in that? At any political rally, if Rage Against the Machine isn't playing at said political rally, I don't see any need.
Yeah, yeah. There was a bit of a stink here in Ireland as well. There were people in government who basically were exposed as, within the building and the offices and corridors and stuff, that they're just people are walking around with no masks.
Mm-hmm.
And zero precaution, zero care being taken. And these are the very people who are coming out and announcing what the next set of restrictions are. It's like that kind of stuff really breaks down the confidence and the sense of, let's do this together. Let's do the right thing together at the same time.
Right.
It really erodes that, and, it makes people angry. And when people are angry and scared, that's when
it's dangerous.
It's very, very dangerous. Yeah. I mean, we'll just have to kind of sit this one out, I think.
Yeah.
I was just kind of wondering, like, how people that have lived through recent events in their own countries, or that maybe have some parallels, what they see right now, like people in Croatia. All right, they've been through some pretty severe, pointing the finger at the other side, and these are people that used to be my neighbors and friends, and then that tension just built and exploded. And like, I wonder what they see when they look at it. I wonder if any like refugees from there are starting to get like really scared being here right now, seeing what's happening in the US.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole other level of uncertainty and fear, and mixed with that, they're so far from home as well.
Yeah,
it's so frightening. Yeah. In Ireland, they have this thing called direct provision, and it's basically where refugees are, some people call it kept,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of cases of COVID have, is rampant in these places as well, because a lot of the people in direct provision would be working. Actually, they're not allowed work, but they're obviously in a close knit community, And this is the controversial part, like that they're not allowed study, they're not allowed work, they're just being held there, housed there, and of course there's people making money out of this, and it's there's a lot of thankfully a growing awareness of it and a growing intolerance for it as well. So that's something that hopefully will continue to pick up speed in going the right direction.
Right. So instead of like looking at it like they're being sheltered or protected, people are starting to kind of see the work campy element of it, or the for-profit element of it, and
yeah, being held and not being allowed to get on with their lives.
Right.
And then there are private bodies that are making money out of this.
Yeah.
It's I watched the documentary The 13th on Netflix there about the whole prison culture in the States.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was like, it was really shocking. It's kind of like that, but, I'm not going to say it's the same as that, but it's not a million miles away from that. Funny old world we find ourselves living in.
Oh my goodness. It's interesting times.
Yeah, it is.
I can't say I didn't land in one of the most interesting times I could have possibly lived through. If I'm going to live through something, at least it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least we Bowie and Prince for a while,
Yeah, exactly. Got to coexist with those.
Yeah.
So yeah, fun stuff. These are all really fun, huh?
Yeah, rock and roll, baby.
Well, speaking of kind of, I guess we'll go along with some of that, but I just want to say I really liked your Nick Drake tribute. I know that's a little bit of a downer topic too.
Oh yeah, yep.
Oh, thank you.
But that was awesome. I could just really kind of feel his spirit just pouring through in that.
Really? Oh, amazing. That's so reassuring to hear. You know, people talk about, oh, I heard that album, or I heard that singer, or I heard that person play guitar or piano or whatever, and I knew from that moment for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had that with a cassette tape that a buddy of mine had and gave to me, God, must be 20, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like Bert Jansch was on it, and Nick Drake, obviously, and you know, it was acoustic music, but it was the sound of Nick Drake's voice, not just his exquisite guitar playing that Joe Boyd, the producer, talks about and says nobody played guitar like Nick Drake. He would literally sit down at the microphone and he would play absolutely perfectly. It was a rendition of his songs, and he would play guitar and sing, and that was it. But from the moment I heard Nick Drake, it just haunted me. I knew nothing about the guy. Do you know what I mean? And you know, even the kind of overt Englishness to his music. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not that I have a problem with that, but it felt not homely to me and not inherent to my musicality.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of all that, it was just the sound of the music that poured out of the man was just amazing.
There's like this beautiful melancholy.
Yeah. That it just, like, you hear it and it seizes you, you know, and holds you and stops you in your tracks, which are whatever you're doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
For me, anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that when I, you know, to feel that way about somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody's music, not somebody, but somebody's music. Didn't know the guy. I mean, he died a year before I was born, which, you know, just was like, what? But I'm so glad to hear you say that anyway, because, you know, I obviously hold him in the highest regard, and to try and pay tribute to somebody whose music you feel that way about is a bit of a tall order. So that's cool. I mean, I just wanted to, I had the demo. I wrote the song after going to his grave,
Mm-hmm.
because my lady is from Birmingham in the UK, and he's buried about a 20-minute drive from her parents' house, which is where we were over Christmas back in 2015, I think it was.
Huh.
And went to the grave, and I just found it so moving, and, you know, like that, just really, really haunted by the whole experience of it.
Yeah.
And all the feelings that his music has given me over the years just came flooding back, and it was just really, really, and I, you know, went there on my own, which I'm really glad I did. But I came back to the house in Birmingham, and I was just like, you know, hi, yeah, just said hello, pleasant hello to everybody. Went straight up to the room with pen and paper and just said, I have to get something out here, you know. So the song came about after visiting his grave, and I visited the grave again. Was it last Christmas before? I can't remember. And I think it was last Christmas, actually. And it reminded me, it's like, what the hell did I do with that song? Where did I leave it? Where are the lyrics even? There has to be a scrap of paper in here somewhere with the lyrics written on it.
Mm.
You know, so I started sifting through hard drives. Where the hell is it? And I found it. And what I found was, you know, a really, really intact rendition of the song, which is very unlike me. You know, because I get if I get somewhere good with a song, I you know, I jump up and down about it, excited, and I bring it to point of completion, or, you know, develop it. But it was that lovely thing of actually discovering something on a hard drive and going, holy shit, I've got to do something with this.
Mm-hmm.
So again, actually, Gareth Quinn Redmond, who I mentioned earlier on, who's beautiful. Not just beautiful by, but he's a fantastic musician and ambient instrumental music composer.
Mm-hmm.
He realized in the flesh the string parts that I put down using MIDI strings.
Ah, okay.
Just to kind of give it that, the strings a bit of timbre, and, you know, yeah, it came together. And I just thought, like, you know, I think it was his birthday or his anniversary, something was coming up, and I thought I should put that out. And I wanted to try and use the release of it to drum up a bit of music, to try and raise a bit of money for a charity called Jigsaw.
Yeah.
That promote positive thinking in youth, particularly the youth, between certain ages. So the song is still up there on Bandcamp for anybody who wants to go and check it out and donate whatever you want. But given what little knowledge there is about his life and his music and where his head was at and the struggles he had, I just thought it was a worthy cause. I think he might have gotten behind that.
I would like to think so.
Mm.
I really liked it.
Thank you.
Speaking of your musicality, you're a multi-instrumentalist. Play a lot of different things.
Multi-mentalist, yeah.
What was your first axe?
First axe?
Yeah, what'd you learn to play music on?
It was my dad's acoustic. It's a Harmony Sovereign guitar, acoustic guitar, and the action was brutal on it. So I must have been really dedicated that I wasn't turned off. The action, for those who don't know, is the distance between the fretboard and the strings.
Yeah.
It's basically how far away the strings are from your fretboard. So the further away they are, that's the higher the action and the harder you have to push the strings in, and the more raw your fingers get basically as a result.
Mm-hmm.
But I've since had it repaired by a very, very talented Belfast luthier called Frank Tate. He did a fine job in taming it and making it a more splendid instrument to play.
I really like the term luthier.
Luthier, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Frank's an amazing dude, fantastic musician himself. He's made instruments for Ed Sheeran, Paul Simon.
Wow.
You know, and there isn't a musician in the Irish music scene that doesn't know him. Know that he's the guy to go to. So yeah, he's a great guy.
So how did you find the transition into other instruments that you play?
I was dragged kicking and screaming to piano lessons. I as soon as there was that thing of having to learn these really boring piano pieces, it all of a sudden it became like school, which I didn't necessarily get on with very well.
Right.
Me in school. I think thankfully, being a dad now, I say thankfully nowadays the school curriculum is more suited to it's suited to a wider diversity of kids, and we don't all learn the same way.
Right.
We the wonderful thing about this world is that we all have different ways of learning, different ways of taking in information and processing it. But unfortunately, when I was in school, it was, if you don't fit the curriculum, if you don't fit how we do things around here, you're going to fall behind.
Right.
Which was shit, because the main lesson that school taught me is that I'm thick, and I'm not thick. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, I totally agree with that.
But it was just like, this, getting grinds, trying to kind of fit. It was a square peg trying to fit a round hole. Like it wasn't. It was crap. Do you know what I mean? So,
right. It should be the educator meeting the student where they're at, and
exactly, yeah.
For so long, we had the model of, no, they've got to come to us. Well, they don't know how to get there all the time. Well,
exactly. I mean, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. There's a certain amount of getting in line and rolling with the program. I get that. But in my case, it was just it was very extreme. It was pretty extreme, like the level of being made to feel like there's something wrong with me that I can't.
Right.
So I mean, I wasn't alone, but there's plenty of other students who like me were unfairly kind of I guess left behind, because the curriculum was full steam ahead, galloping ahead, and if you weren't keeping up, you were left at the roadside, kind of thing, to an extent. But anyway, where was I going with that? I can't remember. You find out a lot. Where was I going with that? Multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, we were talking about transition to different instruments, but I don't know.
Oh yes, yeah. So yeah, that was it. The whole piano thing. So the piano thing just felt like very academic, and I was like, no, this is not why I love music. This is not why I go to music. So unfortunately, piano lessons were eventually knocked on the head, even though I always played by ear, but it would be lovely to have the ability to sight read.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'll come to that at some point. And yeah, I drums, I got a set of drums in 1988, a little 3-piece striker kit.
Mm.
And that was down in the shed at the bottom of the garden. So I used to just, practice my grooves down there. And then harmonica. And yeah, I mean, I mess around on a few instruments, I don't mean to put myself down when I say, I jack of all trades, master of none, but I do wish that there was something that I kind of really excelled at. But then again, being the type of musician I am, it definitely does allow a lot of headroom for, continuing to be excited about what's around the corner, because with so much still to learn, there are so many exciting corners left, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Well, and I think one of the big things that you do excel at, especially, is writing these melodies, and writing these original songs anyway, regardless of whether it's, that you're commanded to be a virtuoso or not. It's it's original music. Right. I think that's what's important. That's what's great. So
yeah.
Who were your guys then growing up that influenced you to go into music and why you kind of write the melodies you do?
I was just really besotted with what really resonated with me was the guy Phil Lynott, who was singer of Tin Lizzy.
Mm-hmm.
When I was supposed to be studying for my final exams in school, I was listening to a lot of prog rock.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. That's love and excitement about melody and counter melody and all that kind of stuff. Possibly it came from then. I don't know. I've always before that I was listening. I just listened to anything that was good, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And flitted from one thing to the next. I mean, I was massively into the Mamas and Papas at one point, the harmonies.
Yeah.
And again, just the songcraft, and obviously, Paul Simon's This World and Simon and Garfunkel's music together.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
I remember being very young and discovering this is a guilty pleasure, Def Leppard, when they just before they released Hysteria, which was
exactly
a massive
Pyromania.
Yeah, exactly, Pyromania. But I remember I loved the fact that they won a competition to record their first album, On Through the Night, and there's some cracking tunes in that. They were great melodyists, so that term, great songwriters, and so I was big into that. Was it On Through the Night? There was a brilliant song that I learned to play drums along to. It was a song called Photograph on Pyromania.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you learn to play with one arm?
Well, it was poor old Rick Allen. He still had two arms at that point.
That was post Pyromania. Yeah,
too soon, man, too soon.
No, but I do like that. Like, I can feel that, like, coming through a lot of the stuff. You have a very, really all of your incarnations, there's a very eclectic nature to it. Like, you can very naturally go from a rockin' tune to a folk tune to a disco tune, and it feels right still. It doesn't feel like we're getting like, okay, we're going too far here.
Okay. That's good to know.
No, and I like it, you're still retaining your voice.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I know that's good to hear. Good to reassuring to hear. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't go around with the chest out, kind of, boasting the best, biggest self-esteem or self-confidence. So it is nice to hear that. Thank you. And yeah, and I think it's fun. I think it's fun to kind of. I know, like, people say, "What are you doing, changing again? You're alienating your audience." And my comeback is, What audience? Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to kind of jump around and keep yourself interested.
Yeah. We had the same or a very similar conversation with Billy Gold from Faith No More.
Yeah.
Again, very kind of eclectic. You don't know what their next song, you can't predict what it's going to be.
Yeah. It could be like a slamming rock song or just, this mid-tempo vibe, like with just unbelievably ornate melodies and, a great blend of guitars and synths as well. Yeah.
So I think there's you both bands kind of share that part of their natures, I guess, in my mind. And I appreciate that in both of you.
Cool. Thank you, man.
I was also thinking about kind of talking about the multi-instrumental thing. And I think it contributes. You guys really build layers, all of you, in your music. And I really think that's cool. And it doesn't always work when people do that. Like it can be too much sometimes. Like people go overboard with it and because they don't know when to be subtle.
Yeah. I suppose the expression light and shade has always been a big, has been very important in terms of, just getting dynamic and trying to adhere to like a wide dynamic range in a song or across a body of work like an album, So yeah, I guess that's always been important, if a song opens in one way or one vein, like if it stays the same for the entirety of that song, it's very hard to keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it all goes down to taste. You know what I mean? Some people don't like a song that deviates too much dynamic wise, from start to finish. So yeah, so when you say layering of, is it like just little instruments?
Right. Well, you've got like just instrumental stuff happening all over the place. And I'm here, and you really have to pay attention to it because some of it's so subtle sometimes that you don't even realize how much is going on in some of your songs.
Yeah.
If you're not really paying attention to it. And it could be easily too much, but it works.
Yeah.
And I would add, and not sounding overproduced either, which is important.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, it's really weird. I think a band like the Flaming Lips do that kind of thing exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm.
Like really fantastic placement of instruments, great use of stereo spectrum, and you don't get instruments standing on each other's toes. Everything has its place, but there's a really wide plethora of instruments, plethora of instruments, and I think Flaming Lips do that so well. With a like bombastic tune like Race for the Prize, and they Flaming Lips. I'm trying to think who else. I was a big fan of. Have you heard of that English band Doves?
I've heard a little bit of Doves. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not a whole lot, but a few tracks. Yeah.
Was their album, was it called The Last Broadcast? Absolutely love that album, and I think it was out. Looking back over the past forever 20 plus years, it was, relatively close release to Flaming Lips. Soft.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Soft Bulletin, wasn't it? That was the album with that was kind of the breakout.
Spoonful Weighs a Ton, and yeah,
that was kind of the breakout one for those guys. But I remember they were definitely albums that we were very aware of, that more than subtly soaked into our subconscious in terms of, okay, now we're making music. What are we into? What do we want to do?
Right.
What do we want to kind of, what noise gang do we want to be part of?
This is kind of only semi-related, but I think it's funny. Like my two favorite ringtones that I've ever had on my song or on my phone, were
Your song.
Yoshimi on my phone. Yeah. Were Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots.
Mhm.
That was like my favorite. And that my co-favorite was the intro to Tongue.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From,
I remember that.
Yeah. I just, I love that ringtone. Those were my two favorite ringtones ever.
Wow.
I remember that being yours for a while. Yeah.
It was for a long time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I've never spoken to anybody who had one of something I was involved with.
And then people would ask me, like, what is that? Oh, you check it out. Check it out. Yeah, here's now don't expect it to all be like this song. I kind of almost felt like I need to explain, like, it's going to change up.
Yeah. Doesn't the song go anywhere?
It's a great tune. I love that song.
Yeah.
So the stuff you've been working on since Shutdown, and you've had a chance to be working at home. Are you doing the whole file sharing thing with other cats and mixing it together, or?
Yeah. There's myself and Paul have only in the last month and a half, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We had started to. He was coming over to my place where I've got a nice little home studio set up. I mean, it's not a big place, but I spent the last few years kind of nipping and tucking it into be towards it being like a really nice functional creative space.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul's been coming over here the last month and a half, and yeah, we have this folder that we're sharing songs on, sharing ideas, just bouncing back and forth. And yeah, there's loads of new Jon and the Pines music that has been developing. Actually, there was a load of music that just happened even when I was mixing the Pines album Monomania last summer. I was so excited about music that it was the act of making music in a different way with a chap called Michael Major,
Mm-hmm.
who I grew up with in Leixlip, in County Kildare, just outside Dublin. We were mates since school. I played drums in his band. He came knocking at my door because I had a real drum kit, and he went, "Hey, you're pretty good now," and so are you. And we just have been musical buddies ever since, But like for about 20 years, we were always friends, and music was always the glue to our friendship, or it was always that common ground, that we felt really comfortable and safe and interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just launching into essentially what was my third solo album, but it was going to be my fourth solo album was going to be the second Join Me in the Pines album. And, we were chatting on the phone, and he's going, "How you doing? And what's the crack? Oh, you've been writing? Okay, well, how's it going?" And I said, I have all these ideas, but I'm feeling very fatigued, or I don't know. It can be a very lonesome and frustrating road to walk alone.
Sure.
And I was just embarking on that journey for a fourth time. And I was walking down the road with all these songs, in my suitcase on the road to a new album. And I just stopped in my tracks and went, "Hang on, I'm not sure if I want to do this actually," because I know what's entailed. Yeah. I know the head melt that's involved, and I do want to do it, but I want to do it, but I don't know of a way of doing it where it's actually going to make me fall more in love with music and make me love what I produce.
Ah, that's interesting.
Because you end up listening to something a million times by the time it hits the shelves in the shop.
Yeah.
Not that albums do that anymore, but virtual shelves and virtual shops. So the last thing you want to do is listen to that music, never mind play it. Or, so
No.
I didn't want to feel that way about something I was making.
Right.
And it's understandable. Like everybody, or an awful lot of musicians or artists who make stuff, music, they kind of feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that comes from the ugly machine that music is fed through.
Right.
The whole music industry, like as soon as it's so insidious and it's so fake, and it's, social platforms, you're like, how many, plays did I get here? How many likes did this? How many hits did this get? And it's just like, stop.
Right.
No, this is not this is what you're doing is you're expressing an idea, point of view on something, a feeling, an emotion, trying to capture something.
Yeah.
That firefly in a jar scenario. And then you want to raise that firefly and sell it to the circus and where it's going to get, it's really, really,
right.
It's very hard to stay in love with that shit.
Do you ever find there are times where I need to be working alone to get my batteries charged versus there are also times, okay, I've done my own stuff a little bit too much now. I'm going to give Paul a call, and we're going to collaborate a little bit, and that might be what I need at this moment, some collaboration.
To be honest, with my own writing and my own endeavors and my own want to kind of grow as a writer while falling more in love with music and expressing and trying to learn a way forward.
Mm-hmm.
It was my man Mick who just really, really selflessly gave so much time, and he's so passionate about music. That's why the album was co-produced by him, and he really just it's a shame. Actually, I'll finish my point here, but I'll have to tell you about his music. He's just a phenomenal force of nature. Like I said, music has always been I first became excited about music with him, through him. It was Mick that gave me that cassette tape with Nick Drake on it.
Yeah. Okay.
And Bert Jansch and a lot of other. Do you know what I mean? He's that dude. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was embarking on this fourth album on my own, it was Mick just went, send the tracks over to me, man. Send them over. So I did, and he came back and he said, dude, these are really great. And then we just had a chat about where this needs to go and why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And suddenly it was we. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
Right.
I just, but it was the selflessness with which he made it all about drawing from me, which I've never had before. Never, ever had before. I mean, I can't do that for myself, and I never had it with anybody else.
So kind of the music element.
Yeah. And I've mentioned Michael's music there. So he's a singer and songwriter, and sorry to bore your listeners if you don't know about it, you should. So his band is called Bon Ton Rouleur. It's BONTONROULER. It's some play on French, Good Times Roll. And it's real kind of really energetic, ballsy, at times swampy blues music, really influenced by everyone from Robert Fripp to Tom Waits. Tom Waits kind of heavy leaning on clanky, dank percussion and, poetry, caricature of the singer, conjuring a world in your music. And I just found all of that really, really interesting, instead of doing the whole write a pop song that's hopefully going to be successful and get played in the sausage fucking factory. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. No.
Yeah.
Sausage making process. And even though I've been struck with bouts of fatigue that we talked about earlier on under COVID and the lockdown and stuff, I to be honest with you, if I hadn't gone through that process of really, alongside Mick, kind of getting excited about music and finding a new energy for it, I think I probably would have just given up.
Oh wow!
I think I just given up with music. He just allowed me to. He reminded me of the joy and the fun and the discovery, exploration of music, and replenished my supplies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For what COVID and the lockdown would.
Yeah. What it took away, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
What it would try and almost strip from me,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited about new Joining the Pines music. Sorry, and I know I'm talking about this and the main crux of why we're talking this Bell stuff, but
oh no, I was going to get to that. I wanted to leave time for plugs. So where can we get it?
Yeah.
Hey, what's the best place? I mean, I want to let all the listeners know.
Yeah, well, I was so excited with the whole process of making Monomania, I said I have to get vinyl done. So I got it mastered over in the album mastered over Metropolis in London by the very talented Matt Colton, who's done a lot of, like, he's done, like, U2 have called him and said, we'll pay you this amount of money if you come home a week early from your holiday. And, you know, he's that guy. But yet, someone like me can afford him because, you know, he's just one of those guys that says, yeah, I'm really good at what I do, but I'm not going to be an asshole about it. I'm going to be affordable. Nice. I'm going to be approachable.
Yeah.
Really, really lovely guy. So got a master with him, got a lovely 180 gram vinyl done as well. Lovely transparent pink vinyl. And it's all for sale on Bandcamp.
Right on.
Alongside the Nick Drake song.
Which I got. Yeah. It's a great song.
Yeah, thank you for that, man. Saw that. Thank you.
Sure. Oh, I need to get the record too. I was curious to just like, what was the process of like, what was I going to say? Now I lost my thought.
That happened to me earlier on, and I'm still kind of part of my brain is going, what the hell was I talking about earlier on? I think I might have been talking about failure. You know, anyway, that's gone. that bit that you will have edited out, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do some editing. It'll sound better.
Yeah. Dave was mid-interview and had this acid flashback.
Of course, we'll have to leave that in.
So just the evolving band scene, I guess, is what I was thinking about, and what that was like, and just finding yourselves and refining yourselves. And it seems like it's a constant process of rediscovery in some ways. And maybe that keeps it fresh. Like, you know, what was it like when you were Juniper and all of a sudden Damien Rice is like, nah, I'm going to go do my, and I don't know the whole story, and I hope I'm not bringing up like super sore subject.
No, it's cool. Damien and Paul and Dom, and then there was another chap, Brian, who left. They were all in school together. Mm-hmm. They're about 2 years older than me. So I was finishing a 2-year animation diploma.
Oh, cool.
When they were finishing a 4-year degree in engineering or something. So we all kind of finished together, and then we got a house in the countryside, and we lived there for 18 months or whatever, and we were Juniper, writing songs, making demos,
mm-hmm.
you know, doing what creative young men want to do, need to do. So yeah, it was. I think Damien just decided, you know what, I'm doing this, and it doesn't feel right. And we were at that stage, we were signed to Polygram Records,
mm-hmm.
and they had a lot of money off the back of Boyzone. So they decided, let's do something with a band, a rock band, and we were the band. And so, you know, and next thing we were going to Chateau de la Rouge in the south of France with Mike Hedges, who just done massive business with Manic Street Preachers, and it was all like, whoa, this is. And like a week before we were due to go, Damien just pulled the rug out from under all of it.
Oh wow!
And said, "I can't do this." Now, I'm saying that because, and I've always said, fair play to him, you know,
mm-hmm.
for kind of sticking true to his gut, following his gut, and being true to himself, you know, because we were all really good mates. But as far as what he wanted to do and what the rest of us wanted to do, it was a marriage that wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So better off just kind of take a sensible approach and just let's all quit before we're enemies.
Right.
So, you know, I always maintain like that. I only say that not to kind of go, wasn't he an ass?
Right.
You know, but to kind of highlight how committed he always has been.
Right.
To, you know, what he wanted to do. So, you know.
So this week, while just doing my deep dive that I try to do when I'm listening to artists that are coming on, was, you know, Woman Like a Man came up.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a Damien song. And I really, just listening to it, I was like, holy shit, that could really be a Bell X One song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like it when I noticed that. I was like, how much did those guys actually influence each other's style and songwriting in general?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was like very much a Damien song, you know. Damien wrote a demo of that song, wrote it, and then we all kind of got around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it became a band song. But Damien, he had that song, and there was another one or two. He was writing some really, really interesting tunes, like Woman Like a Man. Possibly Tongue was in there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the thing. Like, we were all kind of going, yeah, man, this is great. And he was, he had written these songs kind of feeling like, I've been told these are the type of songs I should be writing. And I think that's where the kind of the roots was, or the seeds for him leaving were sown, really.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a real killer, like, because he's kind of coming out with these great tunes, and he's kind of going, no, I don't want to do this. I want to, do what he's become known for, the more gentle acoustic kind of stuff.
Right. But that was a fucking great song.
Oh,
if you have not heard it, everybody listen to "Woman Like a Man" by Damien Rice. Really good tune. Yeah,
really, really good. So I absolutely agree. Great tune.
But it felt very Bell X1-y when I was listening to it in that context.
Yeah, I think it was where we as a group felt obliged or wanted to take it. I mean, some of us didn't feel obliged. Some was like, yeah, we're a rock band, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
But he was kind of going Emperor's New Clothes kind of thing. I don't like this, where it was going. Nothing to do with the song, because as you can hear, he kind of did his own version of it.
Right, and seeing that, and I wasn't even aware it was something that you guys were working on as a band. So
yeah, kind
of changes my idea a little bit.
I had another question. Be remiss if I didn't ask where the name came from for Join Me in the Pines.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I wanted a name just to move away from to not use my own name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's just an Irish thing or if it's this side of the pond thing, but like, if you use your name and there's an acoustic guitar within 100-mile radius of you, you're a singer-songwriter,
Right.
Or if you've ever been photographed with a, you're like, I think it was because the past 10 years or so as well, I've been doing a bit of film score work. I love layers, and I love like loads of different things creating one mood, as opposed to one instrument doing all the talking.
Yeah.
So layering stuff and that kind of cinematic sound, which,
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, just more cinematic. So I was uncomfortable with not just my unrock and roll name, but just using my name at all, because it just felt immediately uninteresting to where from the vantage point that I was looking at music from. So I wanted something that was more evocative, like, and so I Watch You From Afar, or Rarely Seen Above Ground, or Join Me in the Pines, or Villagers, something that is one person, but the name is much more evocative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Kind of visual as well.
So that's the reason behind it. And then the actual name itself, I wanted to use not my own name for my second solo release, but I couldn't think up of, this is another reason why that second album, 2009, was rushed out. I couldn't land on a name I was happy with. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't just make a decision and go with that. I mean, the Beatles, it's a shit name, But it's the music that makes it amazing. So I was sitting again in Birmingham over Christmas. I don't know what year it was. And I was wrecking my girl's head, as I often do with my obsessive nature with music. And I had roped her in to try and help me, land on something or find something that was interesting or good, or, just find a little foothold on something. And we were watching this documentary with JFK, and he was in Dallas giving what would be his last speech.
Right.
Before just before he would be shot. And Jackie O, or his wife, not Jackie O, now down, but Jackie Kennedy was in the hotel upstairs from the function room where he was given his speech. And his speech wasn't going so well because he was a Boston boy. He's over in Texas, and he's just like,
right.
Who's this guy,
Mm-hmm.
And so Jackie's, of course, from Texas. So he sent word up to the room to kind of go, like, will you ask Jackie to come down and join me, for part of it. And there was just something about, like, I just kind of went, I love that. I love how, in those times of masculinity, and particularly in politics, not just all walks of life, that the guy had to kind of be saved by a woman swooping in and saving the day.
Yeah.
I just found it really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting. So there was join me. Oh, what the hell? And then, I don't know, just something kind of, again, cinematic and earthy and organic, like In the Pines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think In the Pines is nice because even though it's warm and woody and organic, there's the pine needles. There's something kind of hostile and, rough about that as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the, In the Pines, the song, that Kurt Cobain covered as well.
Oh, yeah, Lead Belly. It's where I was wondering if that came from.
Lead Belly, yes, exactly, yeah.
Where'd you sleep last night?
Where'd you sleep last night? Thank you, yeah.
Because it kind of invokes that, that same kind of haunting.
Yeah, and then the Pine Barrens, and immediately I just went, oh yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that world.
I like that.
I'm like the cinematography of that.
Yeah, I wondered if there was a bit of Lead Belly in that. That's why I was asking. He invokes that same kind of imagery. It's
okay. Yeah.
In that song, it's just sort of a safe and secure place, but it's also a dark and stinging place.
Yeah. Kind of hostile, or I mean, it's very. It's a great bedfellow for acoustic cinematic music.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, like, here I am changing up again. Now I'm making this like funk, disco, pop music, and Join Me in the Pines. Does it work? Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm not changing again. It has to work, right?
It works.
The next album could be punk,
Sure.
Honestly, and I told you before, I was like embarrassed to find out that you had all this stuff out on your own that I hadn't been aware of over here on the other side of the pond.
Oh,
but it's also been kind of fun for me. Like, I get a little bit overwhelmed. Like, I really want to be able to listen to everything, but I get stuck on songs every now and then.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to move past and share everything. But it's also a little bit like discovering a show that you really like that's been out for several years. And then, I can watch like several years of this all at once. That's really cool.
Yeah. That is the lovely thing about music. And more particularly, I think it's shit that streaming services like Spotify pay so little out to musicians. But hey, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But the positive side of it is, which is what I want to focus on, is that it's lovely to have not just your own, but other people's full discography, full body of work there that you can delve into and explore. And that's the thing, as Mick was saying, when you put an album out, don't be disheartened by how well it does or doesn't do.
Right.
Because it's now made and it's there forever, and you've moved on to the next thing. And perhaps the next thing is going to shine a light on your back catalogue. You don't know.
I agree with that.
It's there forever. And that's why always be true and quality control, and always be true to what it is you're putting out. Be authentic.
Right. Well, going back to Nick Drake, he wasn't noticed in his time.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, he wasn't at all.
Right.
And it didn't help that he was such a terrible performer as well. I mean, the few shows he did do, I think, turned him off for good.
Yeah.
He was like reputed to have done a handful of gigs, and when he was doing the gigs, he would spend ages retuning his guitar into different tunings
right.
to do the next song, and he wouldn't utter a single word. and then of course talking started, and talking got louder and louder, and then like, how are you going to kind of then start a Nick Drake song when a room full of disengaged chatters? It's like, oh man, heart's breaking for the dude.
Right.
And it's such sacrilege. It's not fair. Anyway,
have you been doing any socially distanced gigs or anything else like that, or still just hunkering down?
No, I was due to play in this beautiful room down in County Waterford, down the sunny southeast of Ireland, on the 21st of this month. The Imagine Festival. Nothing got to do with John Lennon, just that's what it was called. And I was looking forward to doing the first live version of Jealous Guy, actually, for that reason. But it was lovely theatre, small little cozy theatre. And they did have reduced seating, but then the restrictions got stepped up here, and all gigs for the foreseeable have been pulled. So that's a shame, because we haven't played since the 29th of February. So here's leap year, not just a crazy year, a leap year.
It'll happen soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for it anyway. I'm trying to stay optimistic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, something's going to come back. It's just a matter of when. And in the meantime, I'm entertaining different ways of getting out there virtually.
There you go.
Live, but virtually.
Great.
Well, and if you ever want to sample out stuff on us, get any opinions on stuff.
Yeah.
We'd love hearing stuff that people are playing with.
Working on. Yep.
Thanks so much, guys. There's a new song coming soon, actually.
Excellent.
All right.
And loads more behind it. So
yeah, be sure to let us know when it drops. All right, I think Matt was getting ready to wrap up.
I was going to spare you having to go on any further. We already started late, and I feel bad about that.
Oh, it's cool.
But man, I really appreciate you coming on, and I know John does too.
Yep. You've been listening to Undetermined, the podcast with Dave Geraghty. Thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. Had a good time.
Yes.
Thank you so much.